Today's burning hot topic for Friday, a freaky Friday, if you will. Theme of the week, dudes getting their old jobs back. And so I want to see sometimes when people go back, there's an old wives' tale saying, you never go back to a job. But in soccer, there's plenty of stories of folks going back to their old jobs, some very successfully and others maybe not so much. So, Jason, who are your best and worst going back home stories in the football?
Yeah, this is interesting. Going back, second bite of the apple, if you will. Do you have a good example off the top of your head? I mean,
So my two top player and manager going back and finding great success are the same team. Manager one, Jose Mourinho.
I know that
Two
guy.
spells at Chelsea, both
Yeah.
wildly successful. And then he
Yeah.
also had Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba had two different spells at Chelsea, both very successful. So those are my two top ones.
Those are good. Obviously, the moment is not good for Jose, or it's different, weird.
Yeah. No one told me how bad the refereeing was in Turkey.
Yeah, something like that. He said it's dark and gray and smells bad, is what he said about.
I didn't see
Turkish
that
football.
part. Didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Said nobody watches Turkish football because it's dark, it's gray, and it smells bad. That's a direct quote from Jose Mourinho, who also said nobody was watching Turkish football until he showed up in Turkey. Which,
so he's just trying to get fired at this point.
I don't know. Saw a story today, said he's angling for the Newcastle job, already trying to get Eddie Howe fired, or waiting for Eddie Howe to get fired. I guess is the move there.
I can see that working. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I actually threw it out there a while back on the old radio show. Thinking, Newcastle, that feels like a Jose possibility. He was recently saying he wanted to take a job where he didn't have UEFA competitions because he doesn't like the UEFA competitions and the way they treat him because he's Jose, and of course the world is aligned against him at all times, which is a lovely way to set yourself up so that whenever you have success, you're fighting the man. You're not just winning soccer matches. Going back, wow. I'm trying to think of any American. Oh, actually, you're talking best. I guess we could go worst. We might as well. His name's come up on the show already. Bruce Arena. Twice with the U.S. men's national team. First run, pretty good. Pretty good. Well, pretty good in 2002 cycle. Not as hot in the 2006 cycle, although things were rough in Germany in more ways than just that. I mean, Claudio Reyna going down was kind of a big deal in that game against Ghana. And obviously they had the draw against Italy, and Italy went on to win the title. So, it was what it was. But certainly Bruce coming back into the team post Jurgen Klinsmann did not play out the way that we wanted it to. That was pretty rough. I'm trying to think of
Landon Donovan was a coming back backstory, wasn't he?
Coming back to the national team, or are you talking about the
club wise? Yeah.
Yeah. He left. He came back. He left again. He came back. He left again. He came back. I mean, some of it's about like, I don't know. I mean, you don't really. That's an interesting one too, because obviously starts in Germany, plays for the Quakes, goes back to Germany, doesn't work, lands in with the Galaxy in Los Angeles, and then did leave and come back in terms of his stint in England, I guess, a couple different times. I don't know. Javier Aguirre is getting a mention from Nate in the chat there. He's back with Mexico yet again. This is, I think, his third time in charge of Mexico, which tells you where Mexico's at.
He's the safe hands,
I guess. I mean, he's the guy. And speaking of Bruce Arena and the national team, Javier Aguirre, the guy on the other side when Bruce Arena beat Mexico in the 2002 World Cup in the knockout rounds. So, and Aguirre said that was one of the two times in his career he's ever cried. I can't remember what the other one was. I think the other one was probably also the United States men's national team. Wow, you got any good? You got any more?
I've got another good one. Zidane at Real Madrid coming back as a manager, not once but twice.
But that was always a weird one. Why did he leave? I don't know. But is he back? Yes. Are they going to win a Champions League? Absolutely. Then he's going to leave? Okay, sure. Why not? I mean, he mercurial, that guy as a manager. And the only job he's ever had as a manager, right? It's the only thing
I
he's
think
ever
he might have done Madrid too. He might
well,
have.
count. Come on, we're not counting that. We're counting first teams. Yeah.
True.
I mean that one. What is he holding out for now? What is Zinedine Zidane? Is he waiting for Deschamps to finally leave France? Is that what it is?
That's what I hear speculated, but I don't know if you can anyone can with any authority can really pin him down as far as what he is truly going to end up doing. His timelines as manager at Real Madrid, January of 2016 to May of 18. So as soon as the season was up, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then returns again less than a year later, March 2019, and he gets them through COVID and leaves right after the season in 2021.
Yeah, another one I think you mentioned to me before the show that I just remembered is Cristiano Ronaldo going back to Manchester United.
I don't think that would fall under the best, though.
No, that's kind of not the greatest situation. Although I guess it's hard to say like it's not his fault when he is Cristiano Ronaldo, and sort of because of his gravity, almost everything that happens around him is on some level his fault. But we know that United is a messy club and a chaos factory, and you threw Ronaldo, a chaos agent, into a chaos factory and multiplied the chaos. So
Who could
it
have
didn't
thought
work
that
out.
that wouldn't have gone well for a team that was getting better, very fragile, and a coach trying to like find his legs, and then you put the biggest personality, that the biggest distraction, smack dab into a vulnerable locker room. I really do think that Ronaldo going back to Manchester United, probably one of the worst decisions, and has set the club back multiple years.
Yeah, I'm thinking now. I'm trying to go through the memory banks here in terms of returns, and it feels like Carlo Ancelotti should be somewhere in this mix too. It's another Real Madrid guy. I feel like if he's managed a couple different teams a couple different times. This is there are a lot of managers who kind of do the Billy Martin routine where it's like, yeah, they coach in one place for a little while, go on, do something else. The team's like, oh yeah, we need him back. He comes back, coaches a year or two, leaves again. I feel like in Italy, there are probably several examples of this, through history at Milan, at Juve, those kinds of places where seems to be this one group of managers that kind of just get cycled through every so often and end up there. Yeah. If anybody else has any of these that they want to throw out, best and worst, happy to take them. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know. Getting your old job back. And in general, is it a good idea? Yeah. Is it a thing you should want to do?
I went back to an old job once. While the second term was successful, I added quite a bit to my professional portfolio, as it were, but it is difficult because you are kind of go into that building knowing you as a different role, perhaps, and then you can't go into, if you go to a new job, nobody knows you. You can kind of walk in with a clean slate and set your bar of expectations at your own natural level of where you are at that time. When you return somewhere, there's preconceived notions and maybe some old connections and stuff that may or may not be good for your development. Another thinking of my childhood, he was away for much different reason. But the biggest comeback story I remember when I was young in the 90s, when Eric Cantona, after serving a 1-year suspension, coming back to Manchester United, was a huge story at the time, and still is one of the incredible, football lore moments.
Yeah. Why did he serve that 1-year suspension? Do we need to go back into that?
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, Eric Cantona karate kicked, I think they called it a kung fu kick, into a gentleman in the first row of the stands, and people thought that he was going to be gone forever. There might have even been jail time thrown into the mix there. I can't remember if he actually served any or not.
I don't think he went to jail. I think it was suspended, but he definitely paid a massive fine and got in a ton of trouble. In general, players should not flying kick fans in the chest. I think that in general, that's a thing. Don't do that. Yeah,
I lived in the UK at the time, and that was like that blew people's hair back when it happened. And then his comeback was such like one of the most anticipated things I can recall as far as like tabloid fervor. And then of all teams to come back against, he came back and played marvelously, and I think ran all over Liverpool that day on his day of his return there. That was a tough one for me as a kid.
King Eric Cantona. What a story. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like it as a topic. I got to think about it a little bit more. Come up with some good ones. I know there are probably some American soccer ones that are out there as well.
Yeah, Chad, throw some into the mix. We'll come back to them at the end of the show. Dudes who got their old jobs back. Thanks for tuning in. Hit us up with a subscribe Morning Kick Around YouTube channel. You got to do the like and subscribe. We're chugging along, getting those subscriptions. Slow down a little bit this week, but we got to make a charge. Hit that 500, an important mark for the program. Or reach us and follow us online on social media, Kickaround on X and Instagram.